Hi everyone, this is a slightly different interview to what I normally do. Please share this story as much as you can and let's get some help for Shannon.
So my name's Shannon, I'm 21. Um, I started working for the NHS when I was 17 at the Children's Hospital as a worker on the adolescent ward. Back in March 2019, I worked for CAMS, which is the Child and Adolescent Mental Health Team out in the community for BAMES, which is Bath and North East Somerset. I've worked there for about a year until I was signed off sick in January of 2020.
Now, I'm sure a lot of people are aware being a nurse isn't the most financial rewarding career. What
Yeah.
made you want to go down that route?
I think kind of where my mum, she was a nurse and she worked on the neonatal intensive care unit, and kind of I grew up around her kind of coming home, telling stories, and that kind of sparked my interest of, well, actually, that's kind of something what I want to do. So after school, I left and went to college and did health and social care. Decided that I kind of wanted to take a gap year and then started to work at the Children's Hospital. And from there, I kind of fell in love with like everything that we went through, and I had a lot of mental health patients, so I kind of wanted to specialise in that rather than working on a ward. So hence the kind of change in job to out in the community to try and kind of see more of the patients rather than just seeing them as an inpatient, and work with them kind of outside of hospital.
So, you're a very caring person by the sounds of it. You've been in the NHS for what, 4 years now?
Yeah, I mean, kind of like on and off when I was like working. So I kind of started when I was 17. So yeah, it's been a long time.
Over the past 12 months, you've faced many of your own battles. Can you just give
Yeah.
us an overview on what's happened?
So kind of it all started in January 2020. I was kind of before I was going to work normal, but I think it was probably the middle of January. I had a spell where I had passed out. Um, this was kind of one of the first times that had ever happened to me. We didn't really kind of know what that was about. Didn't take much notice of it, and kind of over the next couple of weeks, that kind of happened more regularly. My mum had noticed that whenever I stood up, my heart rate would go really high into kind of the 150s, 160s. My blood pressure was very low. And I would just kind of end up passing out onto the floor for 5 or so minutes. So kind of when that was happening, then I noticed when I started eating, I just felt really full, felt really sick afterwards, wasn't able to kind of hold down much food at all. At the start, I was able to kind of like drink some and have more like soft foods like mashed potato and stuff, and that was staying down. But gradually over the like last 12 months, I've not been able to keep down any food since the middle of January. Drinks, I mean, I can have sips, but if I had a glass of water, then I would vomit. It's kind of up to 30 times a day. In the last 12 months, I think I've lost about 6 stone in weight. So my appearance has kind of changed a lot because I've been getting weaker. Obviously, I haven't got any nutrition in my body. That's made the passing out spells even worse. I'm not able to even make it to the bathroom at the moment, using a wheelchair. Yeah, it's been a kind of rough couple of 12 months, but in the last 2 months, I think things have got gradually worse, in and out of hospital with low potassium levels from being sick, covered in bruises from constant kind of blood tests when they can get blood. But at the moment, all my veins had shut down completely and they're not able to get any blood from me. And then in December, so the start of December, I started having seizures at home, which we didn't really know what they were. They assumed that was because my potassium was so low, worrying. And then they topped my potassium up through the IV drip. I came home on Christmas night. I had about 7 seizures. I mean, I can't really remember that night at all. I just kind of woke up the next day, Boxing Day, and I was told I had a scan, sent home again. Then we went back in about a week later, had 2 more seizures, and they kind of admitted me for about 24 hours, told me that the scan that I had showed cysts that were on my brain, that could be causing the seizures, but they weren't very sure, and to kind of just go home and wait for the doctors to call you and kind of say what their next step is. But we had kind of heard that since January last year, and yeah, I think it's kind of got to the point where things are becoming more serious and we're feeling like no one is listening or trying to take responsibility ultimately of my health, and things are just getting worse.
I hear you've also recently got engaged, so you're just trying to be a normal 21-year-old.
Yeah, so it was my 21st in May. Again, I was kind of using my wheelchair at that point, but I felt stronger than I had now, and we got engaged. And we tried to celebrate that with the family as much as we could. But I think, like, I'm trying to think about the future and wanting to plan a wedding. But when things like this are kind of going on, I think it's affecting everyone. It's not just affecting me, it's affecting all my loved ones around me and causing a lot of stress.
And how's work been? Have they been supportive?
I mean, I have got kind of like phone calls here and there kind of asking what's going on. I'm in the middle of I'm waiting for them to come up with a meeting. They've basically said that I'm unable to go back to work, and I'm not fit to go back to work. But so it's kind of come with a dismissal on health grounds. But I still haven't heard when they're kind of doing that, but it will be kind of some point soon. My pay has obviously stopped. I was on full pay until I think maybe May, and then I was on half pay, and I haven't been paid since July. So I'm still trying to survive and pay bills and do everything that I can, but obviously I'm not getting any money in, so that's been another stress on top of everything else. My partner, luckily, I mean, he hasn't been able to work because obviously coronavirus, and I know a lot of people haven't been able to, and he's self-employed, so he's struggled as well. So that kind of adds extra stress on top of everything else that we're trying to deal with at the moment.
Which is definitely not what you need.
No.
For people watching this, how serious is your situation?
I think when I had started having the seizures at the start of this month, that's when I realised how serious things have got for me. When they had said that my potassium levels were dropping to dangerously low levels, and at one point it was 1.9, which is considered danger. They said that I might even end up in intensive care. That really, for me, that was the fact that how can you just let me go home when you said that I might need to end up in intensive care because of my potassium level. I woke up the next day on Boxing Day in a hospital where I didn't know, I wasn't with anyone, and they had told me that I had the ambulance out, and they had 2 ambulances, a fast response, there was a fireman here, there was 4 people with me in the ambulance, and they said that I had actually stopped breathing when I was having these seizures and I was in and out of consciousness. I don't actually remember any of that. The last thing I remember is sitting down downstairs with my partner on Christmas night, and then I woke up lunchtime on Boxing Day and I can't remember anything. So I've just been told kind of from everyone else's point of view of what happened. They couldn't get any access into me when I had stopped breathing. So because my veins are completely shut down. They can't get blood from me. We have asked the doctors if I could have a PICC line, which is a semi-permanent line that you can have for a couple of months, or a port, which sits underneath the skin. But they have said for the port, I would need to be put under general anaesthetic, which my body is not strong enough for at the moment, which I completely get. But at least a kind of PICC line they would be able to do whilst I was awake. And it at least mean that I could get some medication into my body if I needed it, or if I stopped breathing or had another seizure. So yeah, I think that all happening in the last couple of months has really shown how serious it is to me and my whole family.
This has gone on since January. Why has it gone on for so long?
I mean, I think at the start, people were like, maybe it might get better. And I was hopeful that it would get better. They were like coronavirus and stuff around March time, they couldn't do the tests. And I was like, okay, like a lot of people are waiting for things, and it's a very serious situation going on in the world at the moment. But they kind of just kept pushing back the time frame that I was going to have these tests and stuff. And it's just so frustrating, because there is a test that they wanted me to do, which is the gastric emptying study, which I did. I told them that I vomit after my food. So the test was that I had to eat eggs with radioactive substance in. I was paralysed. So I ate them, and I was sick 10 minutes after. And they said, okay, we're sorry, you cannot carry on the test because you vomited it and we can't see what's happening with your stomach. So we go home and we're not able to give you a diagnosis because you couldn't do the test. I am under a cardiac specialist as well at the BRI, who has, so I had an MRI scan of my heart, and because of the malnutrition, they have said that the left side of my heart isn't pumping properly as it should be. At 21 years old, that's kind of something that shouldn't ever be said to anyone, and especially about your heart. Like, that's a very scary thing to be told. And my cardiac doctors have said to me that they can't start me on any medication because my body is so weak. There is no nutrition, and if they start me on medication, it could actually have a more detrimental effect on it than if I wasn't taking any medication. So we're all waiting for the gastro team to be able to provide me some nutrition and kind of just help me as much as they can, which we're still fighting and still waiting for.
It sounds like you've had to fight to kind of get any answers, even though you've got limited answers so far.
100%. I mean, if I didn't have my mum, and I didn't have people around me constantly phoning, constantly trying to fight for me and say we need to do something, I don't know where I would be. I don't have it in me to fight with the doctors every single time I get admitted. I'm just there on my own. There might be 4 or 5 doctors around me, and they're telling me it's okay, you go home. And of course, you trust a doctor. That's what they're there for. But I mean, luckily my mum is medically trained, so she's like, no, like this isn't okay, and I shouldn't have to fight to just be a healthy 21-year-old in a year. And last time I was in hospital, they said, I know a year sounds like a long time, but ultimately it isn't. But that's a very long time to not be able to eat something and vomit 30 times a day. I mean, I'm spending most of my time in bed, definitely not being able to walk around. I can't even kind of cook a meal or stand up in the kitchen without collapsing onto the floor. So it's been a massive fight for not just me, but my whole family.
Have you had any diagnosis?
So I've been diagnosed with POTS, which is postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. And that's where my heart rate will elevate really, really high whenever I stand up, and that causes the passing out. They have said what I probably have is something called gastroparesis. So that's where my stomach is paralysed. Again, the test that they wanted me to do, that is when they get the results, they can diagnose you from that test. But that's the one where I had to eat, and my body isn't able to, and I'm vomiting. So they said, because you couldn't do the test, we can't provide you with the diagnosis.
And have they not even referred you to a specialist?
I mean, they've spoke about referring me to St Mark's, which is in London, which is the intestinal failure unit. I was told that I would hear within 2 weeks. That was in October, and we still haven't heard from St Mark's, even though we have called multiple times. My mum, bless her, has been on the phone nearly every single day trying to just speak to someone to try and even just get a date for a bed. And I know they're very busy, and they're a specialist hospital, but my local hospital said that they will not treat me until St Mark's have looked at me, because they don't want to do something that they wouldn't want them to do. They recently said that they are going to speak to them and ask them what they would do in their hospital and kind of do the same in my local hospital. But that's proven that a phone call they've phoned countless times, and they still have no advice, and they have nothing to tell me. Every single time we phone, it's just, oh, well, next week we'll try and phone again. Oh, well, next week we'll do this. We'll try and speak to someone next week. And it's just empty promises, and it's just not okay anymore.
Not okay at all. For someone watching this, how can they help?
We have recently put it on social media. My story is on social media. My best friend, bless her, has kind of tried, and she's trying to get so many people to share. Her name is Emma Edney. If you go on Facebook and just type her name in, or even my name, Shannon Lacey, it should come up on my Facebook page. We just want as many people to see this as possible. And I know I have spoke to so many people, and so many people are going through the same thing as me. They say that these are rare diseases, but actually, because people aren't educated about it, it's not like being diagnosed with something that people know all about, like different types of cancers and different types of like asthma and all of this coronavirus thing, and people are doing so much research into this. But the fact is that people don't know about things that people like me are suffering with for nearly a year, and it's just not okay. Ultimately, what I need, and what my doctors have even said to me, is that you need a bed at St Mark's in London. This is a specialist unit. They will know how to treat you. But I don't know how long is that going to be. I don't have much longer. My body is just giving up, and I'm giving up, and it's just not. I just can't go on like this anymore. We just need as much people to know about this. It can't be hidden. Something needs to happen.
Shannon, thank you very much for sharing. Let's hope that we can get this video out there, get it shared, get lots of people to share it, and you can get the help you need.
Yeah, thank you.